Hello, this is Life Lessons with Dr. Cunningham, where who you are matters more than what you do. Today, I would like to be able to discuss the topic of friendship. What does friendship mean? Now, each person has their own definition of friendship. Friendship is something that can be learned through interactions with peers. Sometimes people will connect based on common interest. Sometimes people like to connect because the interests are different, but the energy is similar. And when I say that, I mean that people may not have the same interest, but they are still similar regarding a strong work ethic or having a passion or a consideration of a purpose for their life. But people have friends for different reasons. But at the end of the day, the foundation of a friendship is trust, mutual respect. I would even say a love for each other. Now, when I think of love, again, being a Christian and a therapist, I think about it from the standpoint of love will suffer long, but will remain kind. You're not keeping track of wrongs. You are willing to forgive. You're willing to work through situations. Now, it doesn't mean that friends or love means that an individual should be harming you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that harm is just physical. But then there are also unseen harms that can have to do, that will have to do with, or can potentially have to do with things like manipulation, people attempting to utilize words in order to try to get a particular response from a person rather than allowing a person to be authentically who they are. The idea of a friendship is that it's someone whom is close to you, more than just an associate or an acquaintance, and not just a family member. Because according to the scriptures, a friend is even closer, or sticks closer than a brother does. So that means that a friend is someone that be near and dear to you, more than just family. And I could say just in layman's terms that people would understand that there's your family, who you're, the blood that you're born into, that particular family. But then there are also individuals that you choose to have in your life because you know that they bring something to your life. And it's platonic. It's not for the sake of procreation or for the sake of intimacy in a romantic sense, but it's the fact that you know you have someone that really has your back and you have their back, you know, and that means that each of you all support each other in a way that is very authentic. And now that doesn't mean that you can't check your friend, and it doesn't mean that you're unable to say what's on your mind. Matter of fact, a true friend will know what you're saying and the intentions with regards to what you're saying. So they're not looking at what you're saying from a malicious standpoint or a perverted way of viewing it, but they see it for the purity of who you are because they've had an opportunity to see who you are and to get to know you as a person. So you would expect a friend to be able to understand you when you communicate, more so than someone that's an associate or an acquaintance. Now, miscommunications do happen in relationships, but with a friend, you'd be able to resolve that conflict. Because again, at the end of the day, if there's trust, if there's mutual respect, that means that there will even be space for forgiveness, you know, and quick repair of relationship and reconciliation. So I say all of that to say is friendship is very serious. Again, from my perspective, because it's, you know, allowing someone closer to whom you are and all facets of who you are. And it doesn't mean that you're inauthentic when you are with people on a day-to-day basis, but you may express more, share more regarding who you are and the nuances of your strengths as well as your flaws with a friend in comparison to someone who is an associate. Now, it depends on what your work is, and there's nothing wrong with being transparent. But transparency definitely can be at a cost depending on if they are people whom don't know you. because everyone always has their opinions. You know, naturally human beings have particular biases, and everyone expresses their biases through their own lens based on their cultural norms, and that not only has to do with ethnicity, but also their families of origin, societally where they are, particular subcultures that they are within. And when you act certain ways or say certain things, people make assumptions or have particular biases, so they make certain meaning according to the way that you say things, act, and show up on your day-to-day basis. Now, again, those are people whom have distance. So they only know you up to a certain point. If they know you at all, they can only utilize their own perspectives and filters to determine who they think you are. Now, unless they have a divine gift like discernment or the prophetic or as a futurist, they're able to literally see more of who you are and or be able to speak into your life in order to have a positive impact regarding your future. So really, to me, and I would say again, I'm just saying, Dr. Cunningham is saying that friendship is really more than just a colleague or an associate or an acquaintance. And it's not just the person that's, you know, you spend a lot of time with per se, because there are people you can spend time with, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they've been given that particular designation as a friend. And so, you know, today I would like to ask you, what does friendship mean to you? I don't want to assume that I know everything, but I can share what I do know. And one thing I can say for certain is that for those whom have true friendships, because again, true friendships to me is something that is very sacred and is also rare. And for people that really truly know what platonic love or agape love looks like, and what it feels like, and it can experience it as well as share it with other people, it's something that is, to me, is rare and sacred. But it's something that can be taught, but we also need to be within a culture, literally, that will support that, that will foster that. To foster agape love, to foster love in a way that truly is pure, that isn't looked at from a standpoint of stained perspective. But I can say that, you know, for those whom do have stained perspectives, it doesn't mean that you can't be healed and whole. I do believe that healing is a divine intervention. It's something that is beyond just a therapeutic intervention that it can occur, because there is the seen world and then there's the unseen world. You know, we can measure emotions, we can measure thoughts, but we can't necessarily measure the extent of scars spiritually. And so that's the part that really does require divine healing. But there's the part that we can do with regards to our soul, which is our will, intellect, and our emotions, in order to be able to you know, create a clean slate, or to release what is not benefiting our lives, in order to be able to connect in very pure and real and loving and ways that can lead to healthy friendships. And from my perspective, friendships are a part of relationships that allow space for someone to be in your intimate space. And so that means it can be literally physically within your intimate space, and also it can mean emotionally, psychologically within your intimate space. Not everyone gets access to that. But for those who do, we hope that they will honor that, they will respect that, that space, and then also bring benefit to that space and not harm to that space. And that is what friendship is and what it means. And also with regards to friendships, individuals are able to see how they can be a benefit. And sometimes it's almost kind of unspoken, but then there can be a sense of healing through those relationships. I really do believe that anytime being connected to individuals, and I believe Dr. Van Moody definitely spoke on this regarding people factor, but people are in your life, and when people are in your life, they're either going to be a benefit or require something from you. And so a friend is definitely someone that should bring some enhancement to your life. But of course, as a friend, it is an opportunity and a posture and a position to serve, to be able to give. But then the idea is that when you are a friend and you have a friend, that person is able to give to you as well. So then it's a mutually beneficial situation where you're able to give and to receive. Now, if there's anything less than that occurring, then maybe you're being a good friend to them. But again, a good friend to you means that they would be willing to give as well and are thinking about how they can share with you and not just a matter of how they can take from you. Because at the end of the day, if they're a person that's there to receive, maybe it's a person that just needs impartation in their life from you. Maybe it's a mentee. Maybe it's a person that's in your life for a season whom you're able to teach and to help them to get beyond a certain hurdle in their life, or you're there for a season in their life to divinely bring some healing to their situation, or to show them that it's possible to be around people whom are healthy and that everyone in their life isn't unhealthy in how they think, how they behave, how they feel. And so it's really important to really evaluate who's around you. And when evaluating who's around you, what is it that they bring to your life? How have you changed since they've been in your life? Even if it's just been for a few weeks, a month, a few months. Because very quickly you'll be able to see how a person influences you. Because there are certain realities regarding relationships, and their relationships are systemic. You know, so that means that there is an interaction always happening. And so how you behave, how you perceive things, how you then speak, how you feel is not only with regards to what's going on with you internally and your relationship with yourself, but also has a great deal to do with those around you and how they influence how you show up in the world as well. Okay, so I just wanted to share a little bit of that information, and I certainly hope that you all have a great day. Now, I would also like to say that sometimes acquaintances or associates or colleagues can transition into friendship. But again, it's something that can be seen as a testing ground, right? But it certainly doesn't mean that everyone has access in that regard. Because again, to be a friend to a friend is a very sacred connection that is pure, peaceable, right? And also includes, again, trust, safety, a space where vulnerability is okay. So it's not from a romantic standpoint, but there are similarities across relationships. But friendship is major, because friendships are there even when romance is present, right? Because there's space that's made for it. Now, I know people talk about it from an ideal standpoint, which is, there's a part of me that does agree foundationally. If there's a friendship along with a romantic relationship, even when the romance dwindles a little bit and the passion might not be there and you might not feel so in love, if you're still able to be friends, then you know that you still have a strong foundation. But ultimately what I'm saying is that when you're considering friendship has everything to do with whom you choose to have in your life. So it's different than the family you're birthed into. So really be mindful and wise of who you allow in your sphere of influence and who you are imparting into. Because at the end of the day, with regards to friends, if it works well or if it doesn't, you chose them. Have a great one. And if you'd like to be in contact with me, www.necllc.website.